So I'm here to report the arraignment this morning of Chico Garcia, 49-year-old man, and Skyler Gill, a 31-year-old man. They appeared before County Court Judge Susan Egan this morning. They were arraigned for the indictment of the murder of Antonio Pizarro, which occurred at the Erie County Holding Center on July 4th, 2026. Erie County Grand Jury returned this indictment with one count of murder in the second degree under an accomplice liability theory, and meaning that they acted together and murdered Mr. Pizarro while acting in concert. It's important that I note at the very beginning that these are mere allegations at this point in time. The defendants are presumed innocent unless and until they are later proven guilty. This incident occurred on July 4th, 2026, just before noon at the Erie County Holding Center in, I think, what they call the forensic unit. Now, all persons involved in this crime were inmates on the date and time in question. Chico Garcia and Skyler Gill, the two defendants, followed the victim, Mr. Pizarro, into his cell. Garcia forced the victim onto the bed and began choking him from behind, first with a strip of bed sheet and then with his arm. And while Garcia was choking the victim, Gill held his legs, restricting the victim from moving. Garcia strangled the victim to death. It only took a few minutes. The proof is going to establish that they were in there for approximately 4 minutes. Two other inmates witnessed the crime, and they are cooperating with this investigation. There is some other evidence, like video evidence. I'm not going to get into the details on the evidence because I'm not going to further, explain and prejudice this proceeding. But I will tell you that Garcia was in custody for charges involving three different burglaries, one of which includes an allegation of a robbery. That case has been indicted by an Erie County Grand Jury, and he was in custody after being arraigned on that indictment. I'm not going to get into the details on that, but that is why Mr. Garcia was in custody. Mr. Gill was in custody on various charges that are pending in Buffalo City Court, including a couple of felonies. But again, I'm not going to get into the details. I will note that he was in custody on pending charges that we are currently evaluating. Pizarro, the victim in this case, was in custody on a parole detainer. He was actually on that parole detainer. He was remanded by a judge on July 1st. The hearing was scheduled on that parole detainer the following week after he was murdered. And that sort of explains why these three men were in the holding center on the date in question. Again, I'll note that these defendants are presumed innocent unless and until they have been proven guilty. But as I noted, the grand jury has completed its action, and these defendants are indicted on that one count of murder in the second degree. The case was assigned, or the case will be assigned to a different judge. We do not have the judge that will handle this case as we proceed towards trial, and we do not have a return date at this time, but both defendants have been remanded. The defendants face life in prison if convicted of this murder in the second degree. Now, I should also note that, as you may be aware, New York State Executive Law, Section 70B, provides exclusive authority to the New York State Attorney General and exclusive jurisdiction to investigate any potential criminal conduct regarding an incident in which the death of a person, whether in custody or not, may have been caused by an act or omission of a police officer. Early on in this investigation, it was pretty clear what had occurred here, and our office asked the New York State Attorney General's office for authorization to conduct an investigation and, if warranted, to prosecute Garcia and Gill. The New York State Executive Law requires that any such designation of those powers and the duties to investigate and prosecute people responsible for the death of this individual in these kinds of circumstances, that authorization must be provided by the Attorney General in writing to our office. We received that authorization from the Attorney General on July 9th, and as I noted, we concluded the grand jury investigation and are reporting out this indictment. I will also note that we recently received notification from the New York State Attorney General's office that they have concluded their investigation and they have closed it, meaning that no other individuals are responsible for, criminally responsible for, or will be prosecuted for the death of Mr. Pizarro. The two people that caused his death have been indicted by the Erie County Grand Jury, and that concludes our portion of this investigation to date. Now, I'm here with Erie County Sheriff John Garcia, and I know that Sheriff Garcia has some statements prepared, and then, you know, any questions that you might have. But I will, Gene Partridge, my first deputy district attorney, or I'm sorry to Gary Hackbush for that. Gene is the deputy district attorney, formerly the chief of our homicide bureau. Gene handled this investigation with some other lawyers in my office, and Gene will be handling this case for the foreseeable future. And I'm also here with some other members of the Sheriff's Department, but I'll let Sheriff Garcia provide his statement now.
Thank you very much, Mr. District Attorney Mike Kane, and thank you very much for assigning the case to somebody that we've had the pleasure of working with in the past, Assistant District Attorney Gene Partridge. I want to introduce some of the members of our staff, Under Sheriff William Cooley and Captain James Welch, who's in charge of the investigative services for the Erie County Sheriff's Office. So I want to thank you for being here today, and I want to start by expressing my deepest condolences to the family of Antonio Pizarro. When I first heard news of what occurred, my heart sank. We weren't able to share information on this homicide until today due to the grand jury actions that Mr. DA just mentioned, which by design are secret proceedings. On July 4th of 2026 at approximately 10:58 a.m., a deputy assigned to the linear section of the holding center known as Delta Long, Lowside, checked on Mr. Pizarro. When he didn't report for lunch, the deputy called to Mr. Pizarro, who was laying on his bed in a prone position. He was non-responsive. At this point, the deputy radioed in a medical emergency. Erie County Sheriff's Office medical personnel arrived in little over a minute and attempted life-saving measures, including the administration of Narcan, which is something that we do at all times. And this occurred at 11 a.m. And immediately after our staff commenced CPR, at approximately 11:13 a.m., an ambulance crew from the Buffalo Fire Department arrived and relieved our jail management division nurses. They continued CPR and other life-saving efforts. Unfortunately, these life-saving efforts were unsuccessful, and Mr. Pizarro was pronounced deceased at 11:54. I ensured that our nurses received help from our wellness program. They took it very hard. This is a very difficult situation for everyone involved. The Erie County Sheriff's Office detectives and evidence collection personnel responded, and timely notifications were made to the New York State Attorney General's Office, the medical examiners, investigators, the Erie County District Attorney's Office, and then we also notified the State Commission of Corrections that oversees any and all incidents within the jails and New York State Department of Corrections. Early on in this investigation, it became apparent that Mr. Pizarro was a victim of a homicide. Chico Garcia and Skyler Gill were identified as suspects. The crime scene was documented, evidence was collected. The evidence included physical evidence, testimonial evidence, and video evidence. Indictments have been secured. The suspects were arraigned in court today, and any other questions regarding the evidence and so forth, I defer to District Attorney Mike Kane. Both individuals that have been charged in this, Garcia and Gill, have been put under constant observations in a unit until the proceedings conclude. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to.
Were there any known confrontations between victim and defendants that may have led to this?
No, and that's something we checked, and that's something we check at all times. We're always ahead of it, And that's why it hurt so much for everybody involved, because this was a cold-blooded, calculated murder. Let's be clear about that. They planned this, and they executed this murder. Mr. Pizarro was in our custody for 4 days. This is a section of the jail that's the linear section with 14 cells, 9 of them which were occupied. And this happened during a period of time during general recreation, when the incarcerated individuals in those cells come out. And we have a deputy there, we have camera, but there was no signs of anything occurring those 4 days prior, or that day itself. We don't have the ability to have cameras in that point towards the cells, just the general recreation areas, common areas.
Is there anything you can share broadly in terms of intent or reason behind this? I mean, you said there was no known instances leading up to this. Do you motive, reason, anything you can share?
So as you probably have heard me say before, we do not have to prove motive. There will be some evidence in terms of what took place before, including the day before, but we don't have to prove it, and I don't want to, taint the jury pool at this time and get into it in any detail.
Did any of the defendants know the victim?
Did the defendants know the victim?
Yes.
Yes, they knew each other from
They
being
knew
in the
them.
holding center.
Prior to being in jail.
Oh, not that we're aware of.
And how much time passed between the time that the incident apparently occurred and the time that he was found by deputies?
So the entire incident, in terms of when they first entered into his cell and when from the time that they left was approximately 4 minutes. Your question is from the time they left his cell until they found him?
Yes.
So in our timeline, Sandy, we have that yeah, it's, I don't have the exact minutes, so I don't want to speak right now, but it was a matter of minutes. So this is a time when the incarcerated come out of their cells to do a general recreation, whatever, and then at some point, the 3 individuals, the victim and the 2 individuals that have been charged with the murder, go into the cell, and the whole period of time took approximately about 4 minutes. And minutes after, lunch was served, and that's when our deputy noticed that Mr. Pizarro was unresponsive.
There's a big difference between a 5-minute gap and a 30-minute gap, though.
No, it was, well, yeah. Captain, do we have, well,
Maybe I can answer the
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
Sandy. I think, so it's our expectation that the proof is going to establish that nobody entered the cell after they left, after that 4-minute approximate period, and that Mr. Pizarro was deceased at that moment. So whether they found him 5 minutes later or 30 minutes later, I'm not sure if that's your question, but he wasn't found by the time he was found, he was dead, and we think by the time they left his cell, he was dead. Not sure if that's answering your question.
No, I appreciate that. That's very helpful. My specific question was, how much time passed before they realized, how long was Mr. Pizarro dead in his cell before he was discovered by deputies, is my specific question.
Gotcha. I don't know if we have any real clarity on that. I know there's some video that might establish that. Gene, do you have any more to shed on that?
There's video evidence that captures
Go ahead, Bill.
that captures one of the suspects, excuse me, and the victim in this case, kind of move down the hallway, and then they turn around and they go in, and that's when, in fact, we believe the attack occurred. And then at one point, 2 suspects come out for a brief period of time and then go back in. So it's difficult to discern exactly, when he was strangled, but it happened definitely within that window.
So the specific question is, though, when did the deputies find him after he died?
Jim, based on a review of the video?
Based on a review, it was he was found at 10:50 was 10:58 is when they called for medical. So a couple minutes before that, he hadn't come out for lunch. So I'm going to say roughly 30 minutes from the time, because I said it's determining when because they were in and out of the cell. So determining exactly when he was killed versus when he was found. So
But roughly 30 minutes.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
When you look at the video, does it look like the victim is in distress when they enter his cell, or does he go in there voluntarily, or?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we looked at the video. There was no signs of any kind of discussion, argument, physical confrontation. It was just a normal interaction as far as we're concerned, and then the victim voluntarily goes into the cell with somebody who has been in the same area as him for the last 4 days. I don't think the victim had any idea what the callous, cold-blooded, calculated murderers had in planned for him. No idea whatsoever.
Sorry, how long had the two defendants been incarcerated for?
The two,
The two defendants?
Yeah.
okay.
So, Garcia was arrested, and I'm pretty confident he remained in custody since May 8th. So, little bit less than 2 months. And Gill Gill was in custody for around the same period of time.
So 2 months they've known each other for.
The two defendants?
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, it says here they acted in concert with one other. Do we know who that one other is?
It's
And-
with one another.
Oh, with one another, oh.
Right. Right. Any other questions?
Skyler Gill, in this incident, did he provide any explanation? I'm wondering, for instance, if he was intimidated or expressed any sense that he was coerced into doing this? Or are they both considered to be, I realize the charges are the same, but it seems like Chico Garcia was the one who might have masterminded this. I'm wondering if you can elaborate.
So I would say that Garcia is definitely the one that actually applied the pressure to Mr. Pizarro's neck, and he physically strangled Mr. Pizarro. Gill, as I noted, held down his legs and restricted his movement, Pizarro's. What your specific question, I think, at the beginning was whether Gill offered any explanation or, and that's, again, one of the things that I'm not allowed to talk about, specifically when I talk to the media, is statements, whether, any statements, whether they were made or not by a defendant and what they said, because that's subject to litigation and whether those statements, if there are any made, are ever admissible in court. So I can't shed any light on that.
What was Pizarro on parole?
Pardon me?
What was Pizarro on?
So I understand the question, and I know there's been some reporting on it, but, we have had in our office today and at the arraignment, the mother of this man who has been murdered. And, she's obviously very emotional, and she's here with, her family. And I'm not going to get into that right now. I out of respect for her and her family, I'm not going to get into that detail. But he was on a parole detainer.
Has there been any changes in the jail since this happened, as far as how the process of when the prisoners are allowed to come out into the common area?
Well, there's a fine line between being on top of every single individual in their privacy. And, the State Commission of Corrections dictates a lot of the policies, procedures, best practices. We are doing an after-incident, investigation into this internally to see how we could get better. But that's something that we always do. this is a very antiquated facility. We're going to have to look at, were sight lines an issue here? It's, linear compared to a podular. But for today, let's be clear. I mean, these people, Chico Garcia and Skyler Gill, planned this, and they murdered a fellow human being. And the people that observed it, fellow inmates, did not say a word when it was transpiring. And that's very troubling. There's violent people on the outside, and there's violent people that get arrested in the community and come into the jail. And we try to predict and try to stop all violence when we get intel regarding people that have beefs on the outside and classification and make sure they're separated. There was no warning signs here. The victim, Antonio Pizarro, had just come into our custody on a parole violation 4 days prior. The individuals that were in there for a few months, there was no violence violent issues that had occurred that involved them. There's so many times, sir, that we are able to get ahead of this and stop the violence. But in this case, when you have two people that want to murder someone, attack someone, and I don't know, at the end of the day, what their intention was, but the outcome was that an innocent person got murdered. And but we are always trying to get better, always trying to get better.
Why would Antonio Pizarro be in the same housing unit with other incarcerated individuals who have been charged or might have been facing violent criminal penalties? My understanding that Antonio Pizarro himself was a low-level child sex offender, so why would he be incarcerated or classified in the same group as people who would be considered higher risk inmates?
Well, those two individuals, as the Mr. Kane said, they were charged with burglaries and basically shoplifting. So there was misdemeanor. These individuals weren't murderers. They hadn't assaulted anybody. And I find it troubling that you said low-level sexual offenses.
He's classified as a level 1 child sex offender. That's
Okay.
the only thing I.
And the other two individuals were charged with shoplifting and a not convicted. Not convicted. There was no signs of any violence with these individuals. They were in a forensic mental health linear area, which means that all of them received counseling from the Erie County Mental Health Department on a regular basis. And I've spoken about this in the past. There's 60% of our population that are on psychotropic medication. I spoke yesterday about 261 people being on the medication-assisted treatment program for opiate abuse or alcoholism. We have people with problems, but this unit did not house any violent individuals in the sense that they were charged with assaults, murder, and anything that stemmed from violence.
In this section of the holding center, are we talking about the oldest section? When you say linear,
Yes.
is like the section
Yeah.
with bars, and there, like you said, I just want to confirm, there are no cameras that actually see into those?
Well,
those
there's no
cells?
cameras to see into any cells. That's
Okay.
against any policy of any jail in New York State. Imagine a rectangular section of the jail, the old style linear, with 7 cells on one side and 7 cells on the other side. It's called low side and high side because of the number of the cells, 1 through 14. And then there's another set of bars outside of that. And between the cells and those bars is the recreation area where people come out, walk around, interact. There have been no issues whatsoever in that area since Mr. Pizarro had been in custody for 4 days until the event occurred. Getting ahead of something like this, Sandy, is something that we always want to do. As I said, my heart's ache as the undersheriff, and you know, we take this very personally. We both worked in homicide, and see when you have cases like this, which are so disturbing, and I feel terrible for the family to lose a son. But we have violent people out there, and make no mistake, these people are the ones responsible for it. They planned it, and they executed it.
I was curious to know the two gentlemen, well, not gentlemen, but the two men who are being held responsible for this, who you said are in constant observation now. Are they just, is that where they're gonna stay until this outcome is decided, or do you know what is gonna happen to them? I'm also interested to know, you said this was witnessed by 2 other people who were incarcerated. Are they facing any consequences? And lastly, I'm interested to know, you said that you're looking at possibly making changes. I'm wondering if any changes have been made yet as a result of.
So the first question is, you know, they're in constant observations because, you know, obviously forensic mental health counselors have spoken with both of them. They're facing life in prison. So I would think that they would be high risk to maybe harm themselves. Until we're told by the forensic mental health counselors from the Erie County Department of Mental Health that they are no longer a risk to themselves or others, then they will be placed back in the general population. But until then, we have people under constant observation at all times, 24 hours. And there, we're able to have cameras and 1 deputy for 1 or 2 people at the same time. As I said before, we're always trying to find better ways. As you've seen, since we taken office, we fully accredited statewide and nationally with correctional health. The oversight of the Department of Justice is no longer here. The oversight of the New York State Attorney General's office is no longer here because we've made those improvements. Now, I have pounded the table about a new facility. Would a new facility be safer? 100%. 100%. A modular model compared to a linear model is safer. This was built in 1937, the holding center, in this part particular. So that means the design was sometime within the decade of the 30s. We're in 2026 Erie County, and we spent $250 million on a stadium, which I'm good with. We spent $47 million on the Broadway market. I love going there. We spent 20-some million at Shays for an elevator, so I'm great with all that. But it comes down to, I can't initiate spending, but I have told the legislature and the county executive is in agreement with me that we need to modernize and we need a new facility.
So,
that
can I-
part of my question.
Sure, I think, sorry, Sheriff.
Oh,
So,
no,
you-
yeah.
Sandy, I think you asked a question about the 2 individuals.
Yes.
So there are 2 other inmates who are cooperating with the investigation, and they do not face any criminal exposure here. They're cooperating witnesses. Anyone else? Thank you.
I'm sorry, repeat the ages of Chico Garcia and.
So Mr. Garcia is 49 years old. Mr. Gill is 31 years old.
31 or 21?
31.
31, okay.
Because the roster for inmates suggested their ages are different.
Well, I,
But if that's what you're saying, that's what we'll go.
let me just make sure, because I did the math, which is, you know, I better double check it, based on his date of birth.
21, born in 04.
The smartest guy in the office, Gene Partridge, just told me he's 21.
Gill is
49,
21.
21.
How
Correct.
old- And you're sure Garcia is 41?
Born in 76, yeah.
Born in 1976.
Okay.
49. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.